This is a football podcast, man. Meat, football, good. Man, we talk football. We eat burgers.
Welcome in to Scramble Drill, the fantasy football podcast. The fantasy football season's over, so there's not a whole lot of fantasy to talk about, but we're still going, still recording this. Ben Watts, Josh Johnson, Landon Davis, the whole gang is here on this episode. Landon decided not to show up last time. Kind of ridiculous, but we're here anyway. We've kind of got a mixed bag episode today, gentlemen. Fantasy season's over. It didn't go well for, let's be honest, most of us. but we're still alive. Life goes on. Not for me. I haven't recovered. But it still is going on. Today, we'll talk about some things where we were right this season. Let's be honest, we were mostly right. We were wrong about maybe one or two things. So maybe we'll admit where we were wrong. And then we're actually just going to talk about some real-life football because we are fantasy players, but we also just really enjoy the NFL. So we'll talk about
huge
divisional
NFL
rounds.
fans.
We'll see where it's going, yeah. Gentlemen, how are we doing? It's been a while since all three of us have been here.
Dude, I am stoked to be back in the saddle. It feels like it has been too long where we've just had a nice little powwow.
It has been a couple weeks.
It's been a minute. Things have been happening. This is very, very nice. I'm excited to hop into this. And we don't get to talk about real-life NFL takes all that much. I mean, when you do a fantasy football podcast, it leaks in there every now and then. But for the most part, we keep it to fantasy football. This is going to be fun because we get to do the group chat thing that we've been doing for years. And,
yes,
you know,
we get to come
nice.
on and blast horrible takes just through the airwaves.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we just read our group chats from when the games are going on, that we could probably just read those tonight.
Yeah, those are topics. Those are the leads for whatever we're going to do.
It'd be scary.
We would have to
These dudes are idiots.
Censor a few words. We'd have to censor a few words, but yeah. So no, I'm good. Just so pumped that NFL playoffs are going on. And typically, as a Washington fan, at this point, I'm wondering, well, who's our next coach going to be and who we're going to take at number 3 overall. But this year, I'm actually watching a team in the playoffs, so that's fun.
How does that?
And I got some things to say.
How does that feel? Just like the emotion. I think you let us know it's been since you were like 6 years old.
So I was 7 years old. I was 7 years old last time they won a playoff game. And I actually remember, I don't remember watching it, but I remember like being around my family because all my family's Redskins fans. And I remember being around my family and like us being excited. But that was, I mean, you're talking 2005, dude. I was 7 years old. And I told Shelby, my wife, after the next morning, I was like, I honestly don't know how to feel. Like, obviously, I'm excited. I don't love our chances next week, but I'm super excited about the team. And Jaden Daniels, we'll get into him. But I was like, I don't even know how to feel. This doesn't even compute with me. I'm so used to wondering, well, who's going to fill this head coaching vacancy? That's what I'm used to wondering at this time of year. Now it's like, man, I get to sit back, watch my boys.
Well, listen, I'm so excited for you because Ben and I are starting to think about who we're going to be pulling for next year because we've been suffering in the fandom sense. So at least you're getting to experience some joy.
It sucks.
And when we were the Washington football team, when the name changed, I was so close. I've never in my life, I have been like, this is every sport. This is my team, and it's always going to be my team. Baseball, I've got my Phillies sweatshirt on right now. Certainly college, football, everything. I was close. When they were the Washington football team, I was like, man. It was to the point where they had announced they were going to be the Washington football team, and what kept me in, I was like, I told my dad, if they change the colors, I'm out. Like, it's the colors. It had to be the colors. And they kept the same colors. So I was like, all right, I'll stay with them, whatever. And here we are for very long years later. 5 very long years later, but we're here. And, yeah, so All that to say, I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, you're happy. I'm happy for you. I really am. Yeah. I don't know exactly what that feeling is quite like, but I'm happy for you. I guess it was exciting when Atlanta did make the Super Bowl. When Atlanta made the Super Bowl, that was exciting.
You made the Super Bowl. I know.
And we got curb stomped in the fourth quarter by Tom Brady. Yeah. And this is a lifelong South Carolina fan. That's my true ride or die. I would sacrifice everything for South Carolina to win a national championship. I really would. I was heartbroken for Mully. I would lose by 1 point in Mully every year if South Carolina won a national championship. I promise you.
You cut to
I would
Ben,
make that
he's
deal
just
right now.
Offering sacrifices in the corner.
I would sacrifice Josh Allen. I would drop him from my Mully team for South Carolina to win a national championship.
Oh boy!
And I love Josh Allen. You know this.
Idolatry.
You know how much I love Josh Allen. That's my guy.
Anyways.
All right, where were we right and wrong this year, boys? Let's jump in the meat of it. We talked about this 40 episode, just us. We're not going to do news or anything. No coaching changes. No like hirings, firings. No where is this player going to go? There's so much unknown right now. Let's get through the playoffs. Let's kind of get the dust settled on some things. Then we'll kind of start analyzing that and seeing where things go with fantasy players. But before the season, we made some takes. Some of them were spicy. Some of them weren't really that spicy, but I'm going to plant my flag because we were right anyway. So let's get into it. Josh, let's start with you because I think yours is one of my favorites. Let's go there.
Really? Because I have felt all season like, man, I didn't have a flag plant that came through. Like, it was Devon Achane a little bit last year. A little Puka Nacua. But there was nobody to really plant a flag on this year that it just came through with flying colors. I did have a take at the beginning of the year that, as I'm looking at numbers, I mean, I was about as accurate prognosticating how this was going to play out as you can get, to the point that I do a very nerdy spreadsheet in the offseason every year where I project fantasy points per game, total production. Right. It is hardly ever spot on. Hardly ever. But in this instance, it's about as good as you can do in a spreadsheet in preseason. I said beginning of the year, Jaden Reed was going to finish outside the top 24 wide receivers. And that was somewhat in vogue as people got really hot and bothered about him, and then the price got really high and people cooled off a little bit. I probably took it a step further by just saying, don't draft Jaden Reed basically no matter what. There's no chance his price drops to where he is worth drafting. And in my projections at the beginning of the season, I had him projected for 12 points per game flat and 204 total points scored on the season. And I said he would finish outside the top 24. Guess where he finished up at the end of the year? 11.6
just watching.
Game.
Watching Landon having to start him and Mully multiple times this year, I'm assuming he's like close to 30.
His wide receiver 29. It was right there.
Okay. 29. Okay.
He finished at 11.6 points per game and 197 total points. So that is that's about, I'm going to do that one and then I'm done because that's about as good as you can do and it will never happen again. But I nailed Jaden Reed.
We'll talk about Jaden Reed more as the offseason unfolds. I just do not want this guy. I'm thankful I only have one share of him. Like, he's just not a guy.
You started him multiple times in Mully.
I had to.
It never worked, I don't think. It never worked, dude.
He had like 3 games where he got probably 40 or 50% of his total production in 3 games. And then the rest of them were a desert.
Yeah. No, he's like he's a different play style, but he's Will Fuller. He's like that's what he is. He's not
that's a name I
We'll get into him more in the offseason, I'm sure. Yeah, but Will Fuller had moments now. But
I remember benching him when he had like 48 points one time. That was fun.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And I will say this, Ben and I need to take a little bit of where we were wrong on Jaden Reed because about week 5 or 6, we said, he's like a top 20 dynasty receiver. we had talked about up in those weeks how you don't need to overreact, you need to stay calm. But we thought, okay, week 5, we've
But it
seen
was like
enough,
a month and a half
we jumped
of
the
it.
gun a bit. Yeah, it was like 5 or 6, and it was like, oh, he was like wide receiver 7 or something at that point. And we were like, okay, yeah, it's time. And then, my goodness, the second half of the season, it's like, do they know he's on the field?
The man could not earn targets. It was unbelievable.
Do you know how many times he eclipsed 10 targets this year?
0.
Once?
0.
0. There you go.
0.
Do you know how many times after week 10 he eclipsed 7 targets?
0.
0. He had 6 after week 10. He had 6 targets twice. Every other game was below 4.
Yeah. No, and he's the worst kind of not getting targets, because when he gets targets, he'll make a play and you're like, he's got to be their best player, right? And then not touch the ball again the whole game. And you're like, it's different from some guys. Some guys get targets and they look awful and you're like, okay, I kind of get it. Jaden Reed, it's like, I think he's good, but you can't play him.
It's so crazy because at the beginning of the year, we were talking about, like, they have an incredible wide receiver room. And, like, they have a good one. But I think the issue is they have a bunch of second and third option wide receivers. They have 0 ones. Christian Watson
No, they don't have a
can't stay on the field. Romeo Doubs is a decent wide receiver. Jaden Reed is a decent wide receiver. They have no ones. They have no number 1 wide receiver.
It's Tucker Kraft, I think, at this point.
Might be.
Dude, I remember facing Jaden Reed at one point this season, and like it was like I think it was like a Monday night, and he was the guy's last player, and it was a close matchup, and Jaden Reed had like 3 targets, 3 catches on the first drive. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's about to kill me, and then he didn't touch the ball again the rest of the game. 3 touches on drive 1.
That happens a lot with
Did
him.
not touch the ball the rest of the game.
Yeah, that happens with him. He gets a lot of production in the first quarter, and then like, that's it.
He's in the game plan, and then the game actually goes on, and they're like, I don't know where he went.
No, they scheme him 3 touches, and like, if he gets open later, great.
It is wild.
All right, you want to hear
Anyway.
mine?
Yeah, let's go, Landon.
The one where I knocked it out of the park, I said
Killed it.
Jackson Smith and Jigba was going to be at the start of the season next year, the wide receiver you want in Seattle and a top 15 dynasty receiver. And I just looked on Keep Trade Cut, and he's going at wide receiver 10.
I think Josh and I put him at wide receiver 9 in our rankings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like he's right behind Marvin Harrison Jr. on theirs. I
We
think
had him ahead of
there's
him.
a real conversation. Yeah, there's a real conversation there. I will say, here's my one dynasty take. I think we're getting a little low on Marv. Okay, I think we are getting a little low on it. But anyways, yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and he was. Where did he finish this year? Wide receiver 6-ish,
I think he was 7.
5, 7. Yeah, so he's fantastic. He's the most talented wide receiver they have, and he was. I mean, he was really. Now, I will apologize to you if you went and bought him. He was really bad in the fantasy playoffs.
Gosh.
He was terrible, like the last 3 weeks. But
Well, he had
as far as an
24 week
asset-
17 or week 16, but
Okay.
he had 6 in week 17.
Yeah. But as far as an asset on your team, if you invested in Jackson Smith and Jigba at the price he was going right before the season, oh, you feel really good right now.
You hit a
You feel
gold
really
mine.
good. Hit a gold
Only
mine.
place
And
I'm worried is go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was
Sounds
going
like a
to say
pivot.
the only thing I was going to be worried would be the Seattle firing their offensive coordinator. Kind of
That one's
out of the blue.
interesting. I know we're not going to talk about hirings and firings, but that one is fairly interesting because it was a pass-heavy offense, and I mean, obviously that's great for the fantasy assets, and I felt like it wasn't that bad of an
Oh, you
offense.
loved it.
I
Yeah, y'all were fun to watch.
don't know, man. As a Seattle Seahawks fan, I didn't understand the firing. I think it was something to do with the fact the offensive line was not good enough, in theory, to play the way they were going to play. And apparently the run game wasn't super good, but I 1,000% chalked that up to Kenneth Walker was hurt for like 6 games. But anyways,
Yeah.
I cannot figure out why they fired
But
him.
no matter what happens, I feel good about JSN going forward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Not
As
I think
long
even
as
with
they
the
don't-
firing, I'm still got him at 10.
As long as they don't hire Shane Waldron.
Oh my God.
That's the second half. Nobody's
we're in
going to hire Shane
trouble.
Waldron. Shane's cooked.
Yeah.
He's done.
So I was right about that one. I was wrong about. I thought Breece Hall was just going to get the workload that Derrick Henry and Saquon got this year. I thought he was going to be maybe not 1,900 or 2,000 yards, but I thought he was going to be, 2,300 total yards, a bunch of touchdowns, get a ton of work. And, dude, he was getting like 60% of the snaps by the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely wrong on that. I said he was going to be the dynasty running back 1 after this season, and that's certainly not the case. He's down, 5, 6, probably somewhere in there, 4, 5, 6.
I think he's still like at 4. I think Saquon passed him, but he's still at 4. And for the most part, among general community rankings.
Okay. Well, I thought he would be number 1, and so I missed that one. If I hope you didn't follow that advice. I hope you took the JSN advice and not the Breece Hall advice.
Yeah. I hope things turn around for Breece Hall because I bought a share of him in Mully. And
you did?
Typical Mully luck. I do it at the worst possible time to buy him. And, gosh.
You really did pay up for him right when it's like, I don't know.
I paid up for him.
We
and
need
then
to do
just,
an episode. We need to do an episode every year of just the trades you make in Mully so everyone else can get them off their rosters.
Nothing. Like,
Whoever you trade for.
This is like 2 years in a row. The only good trade I've made is getting Jahmyr Gibbs. Every other trade has been bad. Anyway, I will start with where I was right. And it's not necessarily the hottest of takes because he was going at like wide receiver 4. But I saw this writing on the wall from a mile away. That's how low people were on Jamar Chase. They're like, oh, CD's better. JJ's clearly better. And people were legitimately, like I was watching people put Amon-Ra over Jamar Chase. Not a slight against those players. It's Jamar Chase is that good. I said he would be the wide receiver 1 going into the season and come out as the dynasty wide receiver 1. And I think I hit that one about as square as you can on the head with getting both of those right in there. I think to the point where Jamar Chase is the best fantasy receiver and the best real-life receiver. He's both of them. That's the guy. I feel good about hitting that take.
I know y'all both agree. He is the best fantasy receiver, best real-life receiver. I don't know if I'm like fully there on best real-life receiver. I have no good arguments for Justin Jefferson being best fantasy receiver, so I guess Chase by default is the best fantasy receiver. But yes, all of that to say, you pretty much did hit the nail about as squarely on the head as you could.
And
Jamar is quickly moving up as one of my favorite players in general, just because I've been with him since his rookie year in a lot of leagues. So
I get a little credit for this one too. I was right there with you. Not saying he was 1, but when he was going at dynasty wide receiver 4, both of us were like, he's number 2. Yeah. It's Jefferson and then him. He's ahead of Lamb. He's ahead of Amon-Ra. Yeah, we were in lockstep with that one.
Somebody asked me one time, they're like, why do you hate CeeDee Lamb so much? I'm like, I don't hate CeeDee Lamb. I hate that everyone insists he's better than Chase. He's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do not in any way dislike CeeDee or Amon-Ra, but they're not Chase. And I stand by that.
Yeah, no. We know in our scramble drill league we started this year, who was my first round pick? It was Jamar Chase. Like I was in on Jamar Chase. You traded
down and got him.
I traded down, and got him at the 111, and I feel decent about that right now.
No, that's pretty good.
So
you're doing okay with. I mean, I guess it's not an insane price jump he's gotten. Like you took him at the 111, but he's going to be going at like 105, 106 in a lot of super
105 or 106. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We've said this so many times. I'm going to say it again. The Bengals fumbled this so hard.
Oh, it's abysmal what they did.
They're going to have to pay him $1 zillion
with a Z.
You could have paid him what Justin Jefferson got. You could have paid him what Justin Jefferson got.
They could have got him if they would have done it at the beginning of the offseason before Jefferson signed. They could have got him for what CeeDee Lamb got.
Yeah.
And now they're going to have to give him Jefferson plus $1 million.
What'd Jefferson get? 40 a year?
He's gonna.
No, he got
He's gonna get like 150.
Okay. Something.
I think JJ got 140.
I don't
Didn't he?
know.
I think so.
I
Yeah,
thought
I'm
he
trying
got
to think
four.
per
Is
year.
it 4 or 5 for 140?
It was 4 for, I think, 140.
Okay.
because he
Well,
just did
you
something
gotta
that
give-
Justin Jefferson's never done. He won the Triple Crown at 24 years old.
Well, Chase's deal starts at 4 for 141.
Starts.
That's where it starts. Yeah, with
I could see
1
145
million
or
more
150.
guaranteed than Jefferson got. Yeah, with 1 million more guaranteed than Jefferson got. I'll tell you what we might
Unreal.
be barreling towards: a franchise tag and holdout.
Golly.
I hope that doesn't happen. I really hope that doesn't happen. Just pay him. You're going to.
It's
Just
the
do it.
Bengals, man. It's not him. It's the Bengals.
They are cheap.
I know they're a horribly run team. A horribly run team. And they're gonna let you fumbled T Higgins too, because T missed 7 games this year and still had 10 touchdowns and almost 1,000 yards.
Yeah, T's gone, man. Anyways, we'll definitely be getting into that in the offseason. We will talk.
Yeah,
we will
God.
talk about that.
Oh, T Higgins, Jamar Chase are gonna be highlights of the offseason. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Where
forgot
I
to
was
put-
wrong is I think. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I forgot to put who I was wrong about, and it's clear and obvious, and it just requires 2 words: Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was a miss, Josh.
All that needed to be said there, just Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. We were all pretty high on him. We all said he should be going in the first round, late first, at worst early second. Like, that's where we were because we saw the ceiling, right? I think I had him at QB8 going into the year. But my biggest regret of the offseason, I had a take in my head that I never actually said on the podcast, so I can't take credit for it. But my take was, this could be the most overvalued player in all of fantasy football. I never said it, so I can't take credit, but
You probably would have been correct.
he was going in the first round.
absolutely should have said that.
Yeah, he was going in the first round. But I didn't really believe it. I didn't really believe it. I saw signs saying,
Yeah.
are we sure this guy should be going in the first round? But I didn't really believe it. I believed he was going to be good.
And here's
So
the thing.
That's why I never
I
said
was
it.
wrong.
I mean,
and
I was with the rest of y'all. Go ahead.
I was wrong, and I put my money where my mouth was. I traded away Lamar Jackson, funnily enough, to get Breece Hall, amongst other things, because I really thought Anthony Richardson was going to be fantastic. And as it turns out, Brock Purdy was my my quarterback too, because Anthony Richardson couldn't crack the lineup.
He's a conversation, too.
I mean, that's a good QB2. But, like, I was right there with you because I wasn't fully where you were because you had him ahead of Joe Burrow in our Dynasty rankings when we did him preseason. And I remember being very angry with you about that.
Yep.
So I do remember that. But I wasn't far behind you. Like, I had him a few spots behind Joe. Because, like, I think somehow or another, Anthony sold us some fool's gold when he looked decent as a passer his rookie year. I don't know what happened in the offseason because he looked okay in the small sample size his rookie year. So I'm like, okay, if he's a league average passer, because I said this about Jaden Daniels before the season, like even if he's a league average quarterback, with his rushing upside, he's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
The problem is he wasn't even below average. He was not a starter.
He
levels
was
of passer.
If you're looking at a chart for quarterback ability, you know how they do the plots where you see all the little dots and they go up on a diagonal? Anthony Richardson's like off the chart on the bottom left. He's not even in the conversation for starting
He's
quarterback.
ridiculous.
He's so bad. So yeah, real big whiff there.
If you take Anthony Richardson's throwing traits and make him 6 foot 205 and not that fast, he's an accountant. He's selling real estate in Memphis, Tennessee. He's not in the NFL.
Yeah, it's not good.
Way to go, Anthony. Last thing I'll say is where
one
I
good
was
thing
wrong.
about him. One good thing
ahead.
about him, he made Josh look stupid, which is always nice.
Everybody rejoices when I fall on my face.
Josh, I don't know how you do it, but in a lot of our fantasy leagues, you somehow become the villain a lot of times.
I do.
I don't know how you do this, but
I do. I don't know. It's Log, I guess, especially, right? Somehow, I don't know what it is.
to be fair, in Log, you have pulled off some questionable trades in the past.
I have.
So that does affect you. The fact that you're the commissioner and that there have been some rough trades go in your favor, that doesn't help your narrative in that league.
The narrative is a bit rough. Now, there's no shady backdoor dealing or anything, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
I believe you. It's the problem that you've taken advantage of some very stupid people in these leagues.
Yeah. No, it's funny because like there's times when you fire something off knowing it's not going to work, but you do it anyway. And for whatever reason, a couple times, maybe 3 times, that trade that you fire off knowing it's not going to get accepted gets accepted without any counter at all. And you're like, oh.
That
All
never
right.
happens for me.
Fantastic. That's
That
happened
never
to me
happens for me.
probably 3 times in Log.
Must be nice.
It's quite nice.
Anyway, I think lastly where I was wrong, and a lot of people were probably right there with me, is I said Marvin Harrison Jr. would be the wide receiver 2 in Dynasty. Because we had kind of said this before the season. In redraft, we didn't like where Marvin's price was because he was going like early second round. And I said like there was the potential that, he has, let's say, 900 to 1,000 yards and like 8 touchdowns. And I guess I said it because I thought it was possible, but I didn't truly believe that. And then it happened. I didn't really think that would happen before the season, but here we are. So I'm kind of with you, Landon, as well. Is the dynasty community has overcorrected with Marvin? I don't think he should be wide receiver 12, where a lot of people are putting him and trading him at that value. But something went wrong this year.
He's in a weird spot. He's in a spot similar to the Chiefs all regular season, and that spot is we'll say we like we like him. We'll say he's good, but then every time you hear somebody talk about him, they talk about how bad he is.
Yeah.
Like they'll say, yeah, okay, wide receiver 10-ish, but he can't do this. He's bad at this. He was awful. And it's like something's not matching up here. So I just feel like they have him ranked similar to what's right? Somewhere between 9 and 12 is kind of where he is. But when you hear people talk about him, they only talk negative.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it right now. So I think he's a little like.
I mean,
I think we're out on him a little too far.
It went as bad as it possibly could have gone this year. And he's still wide receiver 10, 12.
There are 4 receivers that completely jumped. Like, probably would have been ahead of him even if he had a good rookie season anyway. Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Puka. Nico. My gosh, Nico. So there's, and I'm forgetting, I had a 4th one and now I'm blanking on it. But you had a bunch of guys that jumped in to the conversation that were not there. Jackson Smith and Jigba, that was the other one. A bunch of guys that were not in the conversation. He was clear and obviously ahead of him, and then they all leapfrogged him, even if he would have had like 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. Instead, he has like 750, 800 maybe.
He had almost 900.
Okay. Give him 200 more yards.
Like 860, I think.
I guess the thing with him is it's difficult because even if he has what you projected him for pretty much beginning of the year, if he has 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, pretty good chance he's probably not over those guys anyway. Because they were just the narrative and the production was just insane for some of these other guys.
Yeah, I think it was part of the Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua problem of we set unrealistic goals for Marvin preseason. It's like he's a generational talent, which hindsight, maybe he's not a generational talent guy, but he's incredibly talented and the perfect situation, or at least so we thought. So,
yeah, and that's That's true. It was the rookies of the past. One thing I'll say about him, and the reason I'm saying I think we've got a little too low, is watching the games. I watched him a good bit this year. He was a better player the last 5 weeks than he was the first 5. He definitely got better throughout the season. He was getting a little bit more separation. Not a lot of separation. Not as much as I hoped he would get. But he was getting a little more separation. His releases were way better at the end of the season. And he proved, even if he's never Jefferson, even if he's never Chase, he's going to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
And we say touchdowns are fluky, and they are, except for a very specific type of receiver. When you're 6'4" and you're a receiver, you can predict touchdowns with pretty good clarity.
Yeah.
Much more than a smaller slot guy.
I'll be honest. I was always just a little bit nervous that he was going to be Julio, which is not a bad thing at all, because obviously Julio was great. But Julio never scored.
My
Julio,
gosh. Yeah, dude, I saw
But no, it's where he's really good, like the best receiver in the NFL, but like doesn't score, which means for fantasy football,
That's crazy
he's
you say
capped
that.
at like 3 or 4.
I saw a comparison, and it was people comparing like Mike Evans, through
and
like
Julio.
his current thing, and Julio, and like Julio had more catches, more yards, all of this stuff, and then Julio had 66 touchdowns. Mike Evans had like 107.
Yeah.
No, Marv he's gonna score touchdowns. Like he's gonna do that. And even like, how many touchdowns did he score?
I think it was like
Do we
7
know?
or
I
8.
think he scored 7. Which, like, honestly,
7?
I'll take that. Like, that's what Justin Jefferson does.
And he had a lot. He had targets in the end zone every game. Every game I watched, they were targeting him in the end zone. Didn't work out a lot. A lot of back shoulder fades that he didn't come down with. But like, he's going to score touchdowns.
Part of that's a Kyler problem too.
Yes.
Yeah, Kyler was an issue, and we can get into that more in the offseason. But anyways, yeah, he's not the wide receiver 2 though. He is not that.
No, I missed that one. I was not alone in that take. I was not alone, but I missed. All right. Yeah. We've talked about fantasy, where we went right and wrong. Let's just get into some real life football. For just a little bit, just for the rest of this episode. I mean, we have these conversations literally all week long in our group chats and everything. Let's just do it here. Why not? Let's I don't know where y'all want to start. Do we want to do some just like talk about the divisional round? See how that went?
Or the wild card round, yeah.
The wild card round.
Let's just talk about the matchups from this past
We'll
week.
end with, maybe what we think will happen in divisional, but let's go matchup by matchup. Okay. I don't want to get in this one, but let's do it. Texans Chargers.
So what did I text you guys? So
I
Ben
can't
and
refute
Josh
it. Like, go ahead.
Clearly
We have
love
a
Justin
thing.
Herbert, right?
We have a thing
have
for
a
him.
thing for him. The text I sent right before that game was, if Justin the Chargers don't win, and if Justin Herbert's bad essentially, and the Chargers lose, I'm going to be forced to be the anti-Herbert guy. And so that's what I am now. Do I hate Justin Herbert in my heart? No, I don't. But I'm the anti-Justin Herbert guy on this show. I've got it.
Here's what we've got with Justin Herbert in the playoffs. We now got 2 games. You have a 4-interception absolute crap pile, which is what this past weekend was. And
if
then
the Chargers
get
get in the playoffs, somebody's throwing 4 picks.
Yeah, no, it's faded. But then also you have a 27-point comeback by the Jaguars a couple years ago. Which
That's gotta be
it's
on him,
another
too.
inexplicable one. It's like, how on earth do you manage to turn that win into a loss? And we were talking about this during the game. The Texans and the Chargers, for much of this game, were allergic to scoring points. It's a game that if you've got a guy, he will go make it happen. And it's tough because I want Herbert to be that guy so badly. And like you can see, the numbers are great. He produces 3 interceptions all regular season. He was great in the regular season. Had a good season. Gets into the playoffs in a game where it's like, go do it, Justin Herbert. Throws 4 picks. You get absolutely scorched by that Texans defense. It's one of those games where it's like, okay, I have I have wanted to champion this guy for so long because it's so clearly there, but there's something missing in the puzzle. And I don't know what it is, but it's not – he's not going to be the Joe Burrow, the Josh Allen, or whatever that we thought he might be until he proves us wrong. He's got to be the guy that's – until we are proven incorrect, we have to be the guy that's – yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I may, Dan
it means
Orlovsky
nothing.
this. If I may, Dan Orlovsky
Yeah, go ahead.
this for just be the one Dan Orlovsky defending our guy for just a second. I am not going to give him really many excuses. Like most of this is on him, but he had 242 passing yards. 197 of them went to Ladd McConkey. He had 14 completions. 9 of them went to Ladd McConkey. He was pressured through the interior of the offensive line all day long. They have to get some weapons in there, and they have to improve the offensive line. And the game was still close
Oh, my gosh.
until later in the game. J.K. Dobbins had 9 carries. Why did you stop running it? Why?
Yeah, let's blame Jim Harbaugh's offensive line. This means nothing for fantasy, but I am the anti-Herbert guy now. That's me. That's me. I have to make comments like that that Jim Harbaugh's offensive line comment because I'm the anti-Herbert guy. I can't say I'm the anti-Herbert guy and then defend him. What do you want me to do?
14 of
I'm in a box.
14 of 32 and 4 picks is
Landon
about
and Shannon
as
Sharp.
bad.
I'm Dan Orlovsky. Let's go.
That's about as bad as you can do. I mean, I don't know. I
he
could
was
go
horrible.
blue in
He
the-
was
It was
horrible.
horrible.
It was
horrible.
absolutely atrocious.
Yeah. And the Texans, congratulations. I mean, back-to-back years, they've won a playoff game. D'Amico Ryan, C.J. Stroud, something's working. I mean,
better than the Falcons could
they
say.
get a free home playoff game in that division.
Yes.
It's free. It's literally free.
That's why I genuinely
so-
thought the Chargers would roll up and beat them because I'm looking at their division. I'm like, this is about as easy as the NFC South to win. Like, it's that bad. And y'all just get to walk into a home playoff game, and they handled their business.
I think the NFC South was better.
Yes, it is better.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, the NFC South was better.
No, it's interesting because Houston had I think a disappointing season by all accounts until you get into the playoffs though, and they win a playoff game, and you look up and you go, yeah, they won. What are they at? 11-7. Is that where they are now with a playoff win? Yeah, it's not that bad. But they weren't. I don't want the narrative coming out of that game to be a pro CJ Stroud, pro Houston narrative. It was just the Chargers sucked.
The Chargers charged. They do
The
that.
Chargers, yes, they charged. Houston was not good on offense. Their defense was very opportunistic. You've got a great corner, a couple great
It's
corners.
easy to score 32 points when the opposing
CJ
quarterback
Stroud
throws 4
was
picks.
horrendous. He had that one play, I think it was like a third down rollout when he ripped a laser. It was a great play.
That was awesome.
Great play. But outside of that, I'll be honest, I did not see a whole lot of good from CJ Stroud either. He just didn't do the dumb stuff, and so they win.
I fully expect the Chiefs to pop them next week.
Oh my God. 29-10.
Yeah, they are going to
we
get
can go
popped.
to the next AFC game. We don't need to talk about this one that much because we'll talk about the Ravens more.
This is boring, yeah. Dude, Ravens killed the Steelers. It was never as this
Steelers
wasn't even
didn't
as
deserve
close
to
as
be
this.
there.
No.
If
It's-
I'm the
it's a
Steelers,
running joke.
I love Tomlin. I am looking to trade him if I'm the Steelers. It's just
You gotta
it's
have a
run
new
its
voice.
course. It's run its course.
It's a running joke, but I swear it looks like it every year. Is they start off hot, win 9 games, and then stop. Every time.
See,
I know that's not true, but it's what happens.
I've got a contrarian opinion then because I think Mike Tomlin is stitching together functional teams for 3/4 of a season every year, and then at the end of the year, everybody realizes, oh, they have pretty terrible quarterback play. You don't have weapons.
Yeah.
It's
Because of him.
What?
Because of
It
Tomlin.
he's
wasn't
not the
that
GM.
bad.
Yeah,
Tomlin's
he's
got a
gonna
big
keep
say.
winning. He's going to keep winning 8 games. He's going to keep not being able to draft a quarterback. He's going to keep thinking we can run the ball and get a reclamation project in here and we'll piece it together and my defense will do it. He's going to spend all his money on defense like he always does. He's going to spend no money on offense. He's going to bring in receivers that are just head cases, and then this is what happens. I think it's run its course. He'd be great if he had a quarterback. He's never going to get one. He needs to go to a place that has an established quarterback, and maybe he can have success there.
I think he would be great in a place where you have an established quarterback. But you're right.
Oh, he'd be fantastic.
He'd be so good if you know, like, the offense
but
is at least.
But he can't get one.
Yeah, because he keeps coaching them to first-round playoff exits every year. He's taking these, and it's not like they're bad rosters. It's good defenses.
You get pick 18 every year.
Yeah, you can't build a franchise because they're in NFL purgatory. You are too good to pick elite players in the draft, but you're too bad to ever be anything come playoff time.
Yeah. So.
Imagine if our buddy Denny was a Steelers fan.
We don't have enough time for the context, but that's really funny, just for the people at home. That's really funny.
For the three of us, that's really funny because of something that happened recently. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna save one of these. Let's skip the Bills game for now. Come back to that one. Let's go to Eagles Packers because I think that's the game we care the least about on the Sunday matchups.
Both teams look bad.
I knew this was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen.
Both teams look bad. Like the Eagles didn't look good. No. The Packers, Jordan Love, man, that was hard to watch. And I mean, he lost a bunch. His line was decimated. He lost his top 3 receivers. So I mean, what are you going to say? But
yeah, talk about Justin Herbert being trash. Jordan Love was trash.
He was not good.
Yeah, he was hard to watch.
He was not good.
Hard to watch.
Yeah, my takeaway from that game was not anything really to do with the Packers. It was just the Eagles kind of look like a slightly better version of the team they were last year.
They didn't need to do anything, though.
No. You just need to not kill yourself.
They didn't have to be
The problem last year was they were killing themselves, and it just kind of like fell apart.
Oh, it'll come.
Probably. I don't. Who do they play in the next round?
The Rams. Oh.
That is not.
AJ Brown will be having his book club on the sideline.
That's not a good matchup because Nick Sirianni is not an X's and O's guy. He's a culture guy, but he's freaking weird.
Yeah, but I feel like they can.
Is he a culture guy?
That's what his thing is supposed to be.
They're physical though. Like I feel like they could out physical the Rams.
I mean, they could. And Saquon Barkley to me is like the entire key for.
Oh, he's a monster.
For if they do anything, because
he's so good.
Jalen Hurts is so interesting because he is, I think, not considered to be an elite quarterback, but I think people want him to be.
I've never thought.
But he's throwing for 120.
I've never been a Jalen Hurts guy.
140 yards a game. Like they have these great receivers, and they don't have a great passing game. They just have an awesome offensive line that mauls people, and a generationally talented running back. And if you run into a team that happens to figure out the run game, like is Jalen Hurts going to go throw 35 times and dot you up with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith on the receiving end of these things? Is he going to do that? I don't know that he can.
I think we learned a lot about the Eagles this week. I think this week will teach us a lot about the Eagles. I think the Packers, I don't know if it was the crowd. I don't know what it was. They seemed a little overmatched. Like they fumbled the opening kickoff, which – if you don't know anything about football, not a good sign. Not a good sign. So I think we learned a lot about the Eagles this week against the Rams. So.
All right. My boy, Josh Allen, moving on. I don't think anybody's surprised, but I was a little bit worried after Bo Nix threw a dart 40 yards to Troy Franklin. I'm like, uh-oh. Sean, I was scared for a second that Sean Payton was going to have something for him. Turns out we're good.
I've got one take about this game about Josh Allen, and it's not even about Josh Allen. It's about Patrick Mahomes. So I'll let Josh talk.
All right, Nick Wright.
I think the only thing remotely surprising about this game was the margin. I mean, I thought Bo Nix was going to have a little bit more in the tank. They released. Did you see the report that he was playing?
He was in a tough spot.
Yeah.
He was in a tough.
Did
spot.
you see the
say the same
report?
thing
He was playing the entire second half of the season with multiple fractures in his back. Like, doesn't that just sound? Oh yeah,
I didn't see that.
It was on ESPN's. Go hop on ESPN right now. It's one of their top
it's
stories.
funny that comes out after the playoff game?
That's where I'm going. Like, doesn't that seem like very convenient to just drop that right after you get smacked in Buffalo, New York?
By the way, this guy has a broken back.
Because then
He's actually paralyzed.
then the narrative goes from Bo Nix, I don't know, to wow, what a warrior. I mean, paralysis can't stop Bo Nix. He's great.
I'll say the same thing in defense of Bo Nix that I said in defense of Justin Herbert. Bo Nix was the leading rusher. And I guess I get that they got boat raced. They got boat raced by the Bills, so you were going to be throwing anyway. But he only threw 22 passes, and he was still the leading rusher. Yes, that was tough.
No.
I mean, 31-7 doesn't really tell the
For
full
the
story.
Broncos.
This was like
I was really okay with watching Josh Allen.
This was like a 45-0 game that ended up at 31-7. This was terrible.
Yeah,
That's because the Bills didn't really rush. They just dominated time of possession. Dominated it.
The only thing I'll say, and this is really about Patrick Mahomes, it's not about Josh
Here
Allen.
we go.
If there was ever an actual video, there's AI videos of it, but if there was ever an actual video of a referee coming to the sideline, basically bowing down to Josh Allen and patting him on the head when he missed a call, if that ever happened to Patrick Mahomes, Twitter would shut down. Literally, Twitter would shut down. Like, there's CGI, AI, whatever, of that happening with Mahomes. And it just happened to Josh Allen. So that's all I'll say.
It was a bad call that the ref missed, if you saw it. Like, Cortland Sutton threw Dawson Knox
Just
on the
ask the
ground.
ref. He knows.
Josh Allen's a scary guy. Like, I wouldn't want him mad at me. That guy's 6'4", 250. That's my boy, though. That is my favorite player. I know it's not going to happen because it never happens. But I would love for him to beat Patrick Mahomes just once in the playoffs.
Yeah. We'll see.
It's not going to happen.
It'll happen once. It'll happen once.
I don't think so. Historically, we're looking at a 0% chance.
It'll happen when they're both like
historically, he doesn't have
35
a
years
great-
old.
We're 0 for 3, all right? All right.
Yep.
Landon, after you already got to talk about Patrick Mahomes, now I get to pass the torch to you for your other boy, who's also my boy. I like Jaden Daniels a lot. Commanders Bucks.
I mean, we're going to have to assess. We'll see what happens this week. Like I said, I do not love our chances this week. We're probably going to get hammered. And even if we do, this season is not just a success. This
You were
season
not
is
supposed to be
a
here.
wild triple jump over the barrier of success type season. Like, guys, we won 4 games last year.
You were
won
not
4
supposed to be here.
games last year. And my dad and my uncles, and they would always, they'd always get excited every offseason. Oh, we got this coach. We got a new offensive coordinator. Oh, maybe we can make, Taylor Heineke work. Oh, my goodness, Sam Howell's the answer. And I just said every year, with our owner, in the NFL, you need 4 things. You need an owner. You need to be great. Not to be good, to be great. You need an owner, a GM, a coach, and a quarterback. Coach and a quarterback are the most important, but you need all 4. We had 0 of the 4 last year. 0 of the 4 were good. This year, we have 4 of 4. We got a new owner. Thank goodness. That's the biggest thing. A new coach who I would have loved them to go to offensive coach, but Dan Quinn's done a good job. The best GM prospect there's been in a long time. And then we drafted a quarterback who is having one of the great rookie quarterback seasons of all time. I mean, like I said, we'll see what happens this week, but he's going to win rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. He won a playoff game on the road. The list of rookie quarterbacks to win road playoff games, is a
Russell
short
Wilson.
one. It's like 3 guys. It's 3 guys. Yeah, and one of them's Russell Wilson, and he was playing another rookie. Like, so I think Joe
RG3,
Flacco
actually.
and Mark Sanchez are the other 2. I think it's
Joe Flacco is the
Wilson,
other one I
Flacco,
know.
and Mark Sanchez, I think, are the 3. So it's not a who's who of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But it does show you how
2 of those guys
that
have won
is.
Super Bowls. Russ won a Super Bowl and Flacco won a Super Bowl.
It shows you how exclusive that club is. And, man, I don't even know how to feel. I don't even know how to feel. Like, the only thing that could make this season end poorly is if Jaden got hurt next week. As long as he's upright at the end of the game, I don't care if it's 52-6, like they beat the Jags. It's a wild success of a season. We won 4 games. We won 4 games last year.
Dude, and look at y'all's schedule. Y'all haven't even been blown out by anybody. Like, the worst loss was week 1 against the Bucs. They beat you by 17.
Yeah, and that was his first
And
game.
y'all didn't throw the ball.
We had a little lull. We had a little lull in the middle of the season when he had broken ribs. You take away the games where he was clearly hampered with rib injuries, his numbers are ridiculous.
Yeah.
He comes back. If you watch that game, man, the biggest thing is 3rd and 4th down. Oh, my gosh. They trusted him. They put it in his hands like they had in the all regular season, and he was so clutch on 3rd and 4th down. Big play after big play. And, I mean, I could break down all the plays of the game because they've been running through my head for the past 2 days nonstop. I won't do all that, but as a Commanders fan, you can't be happy.
I don't want to get you even
Also,
more
I'm
hot
looking
and
at
bothered.
this, and Jaden. I was gonna say Jaden also destroys my argument for Nix and Herbert, because the Commanders basically did nothing on the ground, and Jaden still got it
Nothing.
done.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing. Had no running.
None at all. No, I don't want to get you more hot and bothered than you already are, but he looks like a slightly better passer today at this point in his career in the NFL than Lamar was coming into the NFL. Like, he is
Oh, very much
Absolutely.
better.
He's
very
absolutely.
much better. That's
he's
fair
a
to say.
better passer than
That's fair
Lamar
to say.
was entering the league, and he's maybe like 90% the athlete that Lamar is. Like, he's not quite the same. Lamar has a special something that's in there that's nobody can get that. But
Dude,
Jaden might be the 2nd most athletic quarterback in the NFL right now. And he also happens to be an elite deep ball thrower. And for whatever reason, in that makeup, he's incredibly clutch as well. So
And over the next, let's say 6-7 years, this is the worst roster he'll have. They're going to get better in the offseason. They got cap space. They got draft picks. And I mean,
just don't do what CJ did.
right.
Don't sophomore slump
and,
this.
And there may be some stat regression next year. That's completely possible. But I mean, they trust this guy. Man, they trust this guy on 4th down. They
Dude,
are
I trust
firing
him.
it up.
I
trust
mean,
him
just
too.
I think back to just even the Bengals game when he hits that like 30-yard touchdown
Yeah.
to win the game, just like nothing, dude. It does not faze him.
Yeah.
Y'all absolutely got a dude back there. It does not faze him.
We got a dude. If he puts on 10 to 15 pounds, the NFL's got a real problem. Real problem. I'm not right now. All things considered, he's not. If I was to rank the best quarterbacks in the league, he wouldn't finish here. But I said this in our group chat. The players I would trade him for in the NFL, not just quarterbacks, all players in the NFL that I would trade him for: Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Jackson. That's it. That's it. There's quarterbacks who right now are better than him, but you take contract and age into consideration, there's nobody I'm taking over him.
I genuinely think he's going into next season. He's the best quarterback in the NFC.
Yeah.
AFC's different because the
It's very
AFC's loaded
close.
at quarterback. He is the best quarterback in the NFC. There is not a close
I mean,
second.
you're looking at Jared Goff. I
Did
mean,
Dak or Jared
you're
Goff?
looking at-
No, not close.
Like, it's the Jared Goff.
And those guys
Baker
are good on their
Mayfield.
respective teams for sure, but no,
Yeah.
Jaden is different.
Do you think we win 12 games in a playoff game if Jared Goff's our quarterback?
Not a chance.
That's an interesting question. I don't think so.
Probably not. Yeah.
Not a chance.
I don't think so.
They're very different. Like, Jared Goff, obviously, when you
Yeah, they're way different. They're way different.
when you surround him with the requisite pieces, he will kill you. I think Jaden can do a lot with a little. It's just going to be a matter of, like, once the NFL adjusts to what he does, how does he then adjust? Because that, like, he's the sort of guy when it's difficult to game plan for him, but there will come a time, maybe it's next year, maybe it's the year after, there will come a time when defensive coordinators figure out a wrinkle that throws off that fastball, and he's got to figure out another pitch. And it'll just be a question of, can he figure out a slider, a curveball, something that can force them off what they want to do.
And that's when you'll find out if he's truly the guy who's going to take you to the promised land.
Right.
That's when we find out if we'll win a Super Bowl, you know. And there's no reason to say he is or isn't that guy. You can't say he's that guy yet. I mean, he's been great. And for what he did, a road playoff win against a team that we were evenly matched with. Like, it's not like we were way better than them. You know, that was two evenly matched rosters probably. Yeah. And he won the game. And he made the plays to win the game. There was about 3 or 4 plays he made that he doesn't make them, we lose. And he did it. The question is health. You know, he is small, and he does, for some reason, think I can truck this DB at times. No,
he
you
gets
can't.
Folded over like a wet spaghetti noodle when he goes and tries to truck somebody.
So that's the question.
Baker
but on the
killed
field,
Bobby Wagner in that playoff game.
Yeah.
Well, people said that the defensive lineman hit Baker from the back. That's why he trucked Bobby Wagner. Watch the play. He's not just him. It's him plus a defensive lineman that trucked Bobby
Wagner. Got hit by 2 people, which
Baker's
is just
also
a small car.
By the way,
Baker's pretty stocky,
by the way,
too.
Bobby Wagner. We don't talk a lot of linebackers on this show. That's a Hall of Fame
Not on a
player.
fantasy football show.
Dude, that's a Hall of Fame player. I never was super dialed into him. Like, I only watched him in the playoffs. I wasn't dialed into the Seahawks and the Rams until the playoffs.
Dude's incredible.
Watching him this year, dude, I don't think he's lost a step. He made a few plays. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer for sure. Anyways.
All right, the last one, Rams Vikings. McVay cooked.
Gosh.
Yeah, that was a coaching mismatch. McVay kind of showed off a little bit in this one. The first 2 drives, like the second drive, they ended up getting a couple penalties at the end and settling for a field goal. But, dude, those were masterpieces.
Dude, even that first drive, like when they just
masterpieces.
It wasn't even close how dialed in the offense looked in that first drive. I'm like, I like said to myself, like, this could get bad. And we were texting each other in the group chat. I'm like, oh my gosh, like Stafford's dialed in right now.
That's the thing with the Rams is, like, they've had a few stinkers this year where, like, they get off the bus and it's just not going to happen for whatever reason. And I was sort of wondering going into this one what Rams team we were going to get, because they've shown that they can beat anybody. I think they beat the Lions this year. You can beat anybody on any given Sunday, and obviously that's how the NFL works. But, like, they have the ceiling. It's just sometimes they bottom out for whatever reason. But this one was one of those where I don't know if I take away from it the Vikings were terrible or if it was the Rams were great. Like, I don't know which way I lean, because it probably is a little bit of both. But to get into the playoffs and basically have a bye week going into it, to see what they cooked up with that week of extra rest, and then too, it was, yes, McVay cooked, but the defensive line massacred the Vikings. They had like 9 sacks. Which is 6 sacks.
Dude, they were
at
saying
halftime.
in the I thought it was funny they were saying during the game, they were talking like how the Rams hadn't had a first-round pick in 8 years. They finally make one in Jared Verse and nail it.
He's a 8-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
I think they made 2. Didn't they make 2 this year?
Did they make
took
2?
Braden Fisk in the second
I can't
round,
remember.
and they took Jared
They took the
Verse.
2 Florida State. Oh, they took him in the second round. Okay. No, Sean McVay's the second best coach in the league. You know, Andy Reid's the best coach. Sean McVay's the second best coach. And who knows, if Andy Reid didn't have Patrick Mahomes, maybe we'd be saying Sean McVay's the best coach. I don't know. He put on a clinic last night. The Rams can win the Super Bowl. There's 8 teams left. Not all 8 can win the Super Bowl. My Washington Commanders cannot win the Super Bowl. The Rams can. Like, the Rams are that good.
They've been there.
I
They
like
know this.
Stafford more than most. They've been there. I think Stafford's better than most. Like I said there were 4 players I'd trade Jaden Daniels for, but I don't think he's the 5th best quarterback. Stafford's a guy I'd have ahead of him. I think he's that level of player. They could win the Super Bowl, man. With that coach and quarterback and that defensive line, whew, my goodness.
Yeah, you just hope that Stafford puts on his good shoes that morning, because when he's cooking, gosh, I mean, it is a clinic. Now, what is he, 36? There's some Sundays when it's
36.
just not.
Yeah.
It's just not there.
36.
So, I don't know. If they bring their best, which usually in the playoffs with this coach and quarterback kind of combo, typically you're bringing close to your best. You're not having just crap out Sundays. Man. I mean, they play the Eagles next. That is...
I'm so pumped about that. All these games,
Eagles
honestly,
did hammer them earlier in the
weekend?
season.
They did. But that's what I'm saying. There's Sundays when, like, they just don't get off the bus. They send the backups in and tell them to put on the starters' jerseys. I don't know what it is. But, like, when when the good guys get off the bus when they're supposed to, they can beat anybody. It's just a matter of, like, who's getting off the bus.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the Vikings were better than the Rams in every single phase of the game except at quarterback. Like, going into the game, I thought they had the better team top to bottom, except for Stafford versus Darnold. Stafford clearly is better.
But that you didn't factor in the coaching advantage. That was a mismatch. Sean McVay, those first 2-3 drives, I was like, dude, Brian Flores has been like the wonder boy all year. No quarterback can figure him out. Dude, he was spinning in circles those first couple drives. Oh, it was a thing of beauty.
Once you start to see McVay, like, speed walking up and down the sideline, you know he is cooking.
Mm-hmm. And it was
He's
like
dialed in.
the way you know a coach is cooking is when the first read is always open. Every play, first read, whoever he wanted to be open was wide open. That's how you know he's cooking. And man, it was nice to watch. It was nice to watch.
Everybody right now is talking about Darnold, that he fumbled a giant bag, which he did. But I think it is intentional that none of us led with Darnold, because I don't think that was the story of the game. But now that we have led with Sean McVay and the Rams, Darnold fumbled a bag.
He just lost a lot of money.
He went from like potentially getting 45 a year to, we'll see what he gets. My guess is he gets, if I had to put money on anything, I would say he probably gets franchise tagged, honestly, and maybe a team trades for him. I don't think the Vikings just let him walk out the door. I think they tag and trade, if nothing else. But the extension to me is going to look somewhere between 2 and 4 years at
35?
20 to 35 a year is what I would say. I think 35 is the high end.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, he had a great year. They won 14 games. Like, he played really well. He earned himself some money for sure. But he didn't earn himself some, like, close to the top end money that he could have. Like, if he'd have beat the Lions, had the 1 seed, and won a playoff game, you're looking at $45 million a year he would have got.
Yeah.
And he's getting it from the Vikings if that happens.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He would. J.J. McCarthy would have been traded, and he would have gotten a big extension. I don't see that happening now, but he's not going to be hurting for money.
No.
Okay. He's gonna get some money.
No, he's
Only
gonna,
thing I will say, and go ahead.
he's going to get
Do
the
yours,
Geno
Josh, and I'll
Smith
finish.
or the Baker Mayfield treatment. It's a retread, but he's a competent quarterback. He's a guy that you can have as your starter, and you're not looking at the draft every single year. Like, he's fine. And then maybe in Baker's case, he's a little bit better than we might have thought. But if you get a good play caller in there, they can be really good.
Only thing I'll say, and last thing on the Vikings, is this happened. We might should have seen this coming earlier, because I looked at the schedule they played last night. They did not beat anybody good all season. The only team they beat that was good, they beat the Texans 34-7. They beat the 49ers, turned out not to be that great. They beat the Giants. They beat the Packers. Packers were a fraud. They beat the Jets. They beat the Colts. They beat the Jaguars. They beat the Titans. They beat the Bears. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Falcons. They beat the Bears. None of those teams were good. None of them.
Who'd they end up losing to? What were all the losses to? It was the Lions.
They lost
twice.
to the Lions twice and the Rams.
Oh, okay.
And the Rams twice.
They lost to the Lions twice and the Rams twice.
So somehow in the scheduling matrix, they just avoided all of the potentially elite teams. In the
Every
NFL.
other good team, dude.
They dodged them.
That's fascinating. What are we thinking about
we
Kevin
might
O'Connell
should have seen
now?
that coming.
How do we?
Kevin
still
O'Connell's
think
a genius.
Okay.
Pay him.
He's a genius. Yeah, he's a genius. Now, I'm not sure all the whiz kids are going to win Super Bowls. Right? McVay won one. Shanahan's got to some. But you got to keep them. You got to keep. He's a whiz kid. Mike McDaniels is a whiz kid. I know Mike McDaniels people are getting down on him, but like that type of coach, they're worth having in the organization. They're so good for quarterbacks, especially if you have a young one to develop.
Yeah.
He's a genius. He's not Sean
All right,
McVay, but he's a genius.
Last thing in this episode, we'll do a quick look through, and I say let's just not dive in depth in the games. Let's just we'll talk about them more next week. Let's just real quick, who do we think wins each of those? We'll start the easy one, Texans-Chiefs. Do I hear any
Chiefs.
Texans votes?
Chiefs,
Give me the
big.
Chiefs.
Chiefs on a cover.
Yeah, I think the
Give me the
Chiefs
Chiefs.
pop the Texans. Lions-Commanders. Landon, I'm sorry.
Lions.
I'm going with
Yeah,
Lions.
Lions. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Dude, I'll say this, if we win that game, Jay Daniels is the greatest rookie quarterback of all time. If we win that game,
If he goes to the NFC Championship,
You will
as a
have
rookie
no arguments
with that
from
team.
anyone anywhere.
yeah, no, he's the greatest rookie quarterback of all time. Like they're not gonna win. They're not gonna win.
No.
Now, there's going to be a
The
Dan
next
Campbell
two are the
special.
interesting ones.
They're going to come out, and they're probably going to put up like 35-plus points.
Yeah.
The Sunday games are the interesting ones. Rams, Eagles. I think the Eagles win because I think they out physical the Rams.
Dude, I'll
But
take the Rams.
McVay's the best coach.
Here's what you
Yeah,
do in the
McVay
playoffs.
versus Sirianni.
Here's what you do in the playoffs. When it's a pick 'em game, you go coach and quarterback, and I think the Rams have both.
I don't know.
Both.
Dude. It's in Philly. It's in Philly with that offensive line. Their defense is tough. And Saquon.
Let's
I'm
do
gonna
it
take
this
the
way.
Eagles, dude.
What is the headline?
I hope.
What is the headline if the Rams win, and what is the headline if the Eagles win?
If the Eagles win, they're going to be saying Saquon should win the MVP. He's not
Okay.
going to, but they'll say that.
I think the Eagles only win if Stafford plays bad. I think if the Eagles win, it's something about Stafford playing bad, and if the Rams win, it's something about Stafford playing good. I think
there's
But the
that is
Eagles'
the
defense
argument
is really
in and of
good, though.
itself. It's
that's what I'm saying.
If-
Yeah. No, they're very good. They could be the reason he plays bad, but I think if Stafford has a good game, the Rams will win.
yeah.
I do.
Last time the Eagles
I don't
played
care
the
what
Rams,
Saquon does. I think
Saquon had 240 yards.
Gosh almighty. That's silly.
okay.
I don't think he'll do that
if
again,
he has-
but
if he has 2 bills, he'll be the headline. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that to say, it's not going to be a Jalen Hurts. He's not going to be
No.
anywhere close to the headline. I that's where I was trying to fish for. I thought the headline, if they
Okay, that's-
lose,
yeah, that's
it's
fair.
going to be a Nick Sirianni hot seat situation or a Jalen Hurts not clutch situation. And if they win, the only thing I can see being the headline if they win is something about Saquon Barkley. Or A.J. Brown's reading a new book.
No, I think it'll be Stafford. I think if they win, it'll be Stafford throws 3 picks. That's what I think it'll
Yeah.
be. I don't think, yeah, yeah, or A.J. Brown, whatever book he's reading.
A.J. Brown has started the Lord of the Rings on the sideline.
Then the last one, give me the
Okay.
Bills. Give me the
Wow.
Bills. I don't trust
I don't
Lamar in
even-
the playoffs.
I don't even want to pick this dude.
That's the thing. We talk about Mahomes.
This is what everybody wanted. This is what everybody wanted, though.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
for
They
sure.
wanted Allen, Lamar, and then the winner plays Mahomes. That's what they wanted. That's what they're going to get.
Here's what I'll say. I will say this. You guys know I am the biggest Mahomes fan. I didn't get into any Mahomes takes today. I could have. I got some things that people listen and be like, this guy is too much. But if the winner of this game beats the Chiefs and wins the Super Bowl, they get to be called the best quarterback in the world.
Yes.
They get to be called that. I will still think it's Mahomes, but they get to hold the title no matter what the last 5 years have looked like.
The thing with Lamar is we have now flipped, and maybe Landon, you were here before the rest of us were, but last year in the playoffs, the narrative going into it was, I don't think the Chiefs can do it. And then they go on that run and start winning games they have honestly no business winning. And then the narrative becomes, and now we were all here, you literally can't pick against the Chiefs until you are proven wrong. Like, it does not matter this scenario at all. It doesn't matter. You pick the Chiefs. And I think with Lamar and the Ravens in a game like this, it's somewhat the inverse. It's not like you can't pick Lamar in the playoffs, but he has proven that in matchup games, he has not played his best. And because he has playoff wins, but it's games that like he's on clearly the better team and they just smoke a team. Like Houston last year, wildcard round this year, they just smoke a team because they're far better. It's the matchup games that he hasn't played super well in. And it's one of those where it's a matchup game. I don't know if I can in good conscience pick Lamar over a guy like Josh Allen where you know he's going to give you his best. They may not win, but he'll give you his best.
Yeah, no, I think the Bills win. I think Josh Allen's too much. I think Josh Allen should be the MVP. I think Josh Allen is the only reason we're not talking about a potential, 19-0, 20-0 Chiefs team. Josh Allen is that guy, and I think I've seen him have a lot of success in the playoffs. I have not seen Lamar have a lot of success, and so I'll stick with him.
Yeah,
Knock
that
on
being
wood,
said-
Josh Allen has never had a bad game in the playoffs.
No, he is not. Not a single one. Now,
I think his touchdown interception ratio is like 24 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, something like that.
The 2 years ago, the divisional loss to the Bengals was not great at home.
Okay, yeah, that
not
one
great.
wasn't great. I'll give you that.
That was not great.
yeah.
I hope Josh Allen wins. He's that dude. He's been that dude. My issue is y'all don't trust Lamar, and rightfully so. I don't trust Sean McDermott.
I knew you were going to say
'Cause the
Sean
Bills-
McDermott.
Dude, the Bills defense has let them down more often than not in the playoffs. The Bills got popped by the Ravens earlier in this season. And if it was just Lamar versus Josh, I'm going to pick Josh every time. What scares me is the combination of Sean McDermott and Derrick Henry. I don't know. I am scared Derrick Henry could have a huge, huge game, and Sean McDermott just has no answer for it. That scares me.
Yeah, Lamar, dude.
The Ravens are the better.
The Ravens
Go ahead.
When the Ravens offense is clicking, there's nothing like it.
That
It's
scares me.
like I said it in our group chat in the Ravens Steelers game. I was like, I don't know how you stop this version of Lamar. I don't know how you stop him other than the moment gets too big for him.
Yeah.
And that could happen this week.
And that is the thing with
And
him.
I'm
He has
so scared, dude.
his legacy is very narrative driven because he's so good in the regular season. And yet this year it's like he's been great in the regular season. I mean, he's got 2 MVPs. This year it's like he dialed it up to 15. I mean, this was such a far, far better year than any year he's had in the regular season before. And there's still kind of that lingering, like, I don't know. Like, is it legit? Or is it just some combination of offensive line and a Derrick Henry thing that, like, I don't know. And does Zay Flowers play? I think that's probably a fairly important part
That's
of
a
this.
big deal, actually. That's a big deal.
Yeah, is Zay going to play?
But
I'm worried, dude. I think the Ravens are the better team. I really think they are, especially over the back half of the season. Their defense is playing well. Their offense looks unbelievable.
I don't think so.
Defense played better in the second half for sure. I think so.
I think this is the easiest way to think of it. The Ravens, when they play the way they want to play, are probably one of the 2 best teams in the NFL. But they're the type of team that you can get them off their game, and when they're not playing how they want to play, they can be very, very beatable. Whereas the Bills are a bit more malleable. Like they can win several different ways, I think. But I think if you're looking at just pure ceilings, the Ravens, I think, have a better ceiling. But I don't think they always play at their ceiling, and it can be kind of a matchup thing where they can be taken out of that.
Yeah.
The Ravens very well could win. I mean, they're a great team. They very well could win. But I do like the Bills in this one. It's going to be really cold. Lamar's a Miami boy. Say what you want. South Florida.
Josh Allen likes the cold.
He's a bit of a Yeti.
He is the Winter Soldier.
I do nickname him in every league I've got him the Winter Soldier.
He is the Winter Soldier.
I don't even want to pick
It'll
this
be a fun
because
weekend.
My gut says
Fun
Ravens, but I'm not going to pick against my boy Josh Allen either. I'm scared of the Ravens. I'll say that. I'm scared of them. But if there's a quarterback who's going to beat him, it's Josh Allen.
Truly, if the winner of this game goes on to slay the dragon and then win the Super Bowl, they get to be called the best player in the world. They get to hold that crown. As I will disagree, but they get to hold the crown. Period.
I have an interesting
No matter who
take.
it
I
is.
was talking with somebody, our buddy Jake. Anyway, he was just asking me, who do we think wins the Super Bowl? And what I told him is, I think either if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, I think there's one team in the NFC that beats them, and it's the Lions. I think the Lions really could beat the Chiefs. If anybody else from the AFC goes, they win. Like that AFC team wins. I think the Lions are the only NFC team that can beat them, but I think any other AFC team wins the Super Bowl regardless of who they play. I think the Bills beat the Lions. I think the Ravens beat the Lions.
That's an odd take. I can't follow the logic, but I will.
I don't know why. I don't know why. It's a gut feeling I've got.
I feel the exact opposite. Let me tell you something. Whoever wins this game, say what you want. I know that they'll never say this. Their Super Bowl is the Chiefs. And if they beat them, there's going to be a lull the next week in the Super Bowl. I promise. That's just how it is. Their Super Bowl is the Chiefs. That's the Dragon. That's who's kicked their teeth in for 5 years. I think you'll get their best in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, and if not that they'll have a letdown in the Super Bowl, but it'll be like we've already done it. It's what happened to the Bengals.
Yeah,
it's what happened to the Bengals. They beat the Chiefs, and then they were better than the Rams, I thought, and the Rams beat them. That's how I see this playing out. I think the only team that can beat the Chiefs is the Bills. I think they're the only team in the league that can beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, because I think the
I will
Chiefs
say that,
are able to dictate the game better than any team I think maybe I've ever seen. They can dictate how a game will go, and just like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their opponent does for whatever reason. The past 20 games, which is a ginormous sample size, they play exactly how they want to play every single game, and it doesn't matter. Even in games they lose, they play how they want to play, and if it's one of those things where the ball doesn't bounce their way, a la the Bills game,
lose.
Yeah, that game script is exactly how it needs to be for them. They have a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter every single time, and more often than not, Mahomes comes through. But the Bills game this year, he did not come through, and they lost. But
Josh Allen just made a play.
Right.
Josh Allen just made a play.
Josh Allen ran through the
That's
defense.
why I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He's the only guy that can beat him. I'm sorry, Ben. I appreciate Jared Goff, and
Jared Goff is not the reason I think they win. I think from the NFC,
Super Bowls are.
I think from the NFC, the Lions are the only team that could push the Chiefs around. They're the only team that could do it.
Jahmyr Gibbs's and Amon-Ra St. Brown's don't win Super Bowls. Quarterbacks win Super Bowls.
I'm not sure how convinced I am of this, but I don't think that they have too many players hurt. Aleem McNeil is
They're coming back, though.
a huge part of
Hutchinson,
this.
they say, could be back for the Super Bowl.
Yes, Hutchinson could, but they have players that are not household names that are really important to how they play. Like when they're playing at their best, really important to how they play. And I don't know. When you're getting in games that are like that, where you are literally splitting hairs, it does kind of come down to who's got the better coach, who's got the better quarterback, and it's always going to be Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes.
When there's 8 minutes left in the second quarter, and Dan Campbell goes for a 4th and 1 on his own 37 and gives Mahomes a 37-yard drop, I cannot imagine the Lions beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I can imagine the Bills beating the Chiefs next week. Easy. Because Josh Allen puts on a cape. But, yeah, I can't imagine the Lions beat them in a Super Bowl. But I guess we'll see, maybe.
What if they do?
I'll be so shocked. I will be, oh my gosh. I'd be so shocked.
I think they're the only team besides obviously the Bills and the Ravens that could sort of dictate game flow against the Chiefs. That's the only reason. I guess it's a gut feeling for whatever reason I have. It is dead wrong probably, but that's for some reason I feel that way.
I don't
They're
know
the
how
only team
y'all
I
feel
think
about
could
this,
potentially dictate it.
but I feel like a lot of times teams will dictate game flow on the Chiefs, and yet the Chiefs still they pull a reverse, an Uno reverse, and they're like, actually, we've been dictating game flow to you the whole time, and you didn't know it. Like they are always in control, even when they're not in control. It is the weirdest thing ever.
No, it seems that way because when Patrick Mahomes is down 10 points, he wins 70% of the games. Or 60. Okay, it's 60 or 70. It's like second greatest ever is Tom Brady at like 39%. Mahomes wins like 60-something% when he's down 10. It's just
if the Bills play the Chiefs
you gotta
next
kill him.
week, you either need to be up by like 30 or I legitimately want Josh Allen to be losing to the Chiefs.
Yes.
I do not want him to be up by like 7.
Look, you don't want to be tied with the Chiefs. You don't want to be losing to the Chiefs. You definitely don't want to be beating the Chiefs. That's the last thing you want is to be beating them with 8 minutes left and they're getting the ball
If you have
back.
a touchdown lead with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you will lose.
No, it's guaranteed. Like, if the Bills want to beat the Chiefs, they legitimately either have to make a comeback or they need to be up 24 points in the fourth quarter.
Yes, you got to smoke them, or you got to have like the most insane individual game we've ever seen a player play.
We're an hour and 20 minutes in. I wonder who's out there still listening to this. But Patrick Mahomes has 3 losses. 3 losses in the playoffs, which is crazy, by the way. 3. One way to beat him is what the Bucs did, just
massacre him
all over him, massacre. You got both tackles out. You got the tackle who blocked Von Miller in the Panthers Super Bowl trying to block St. Pete, or what's the guy's name?
I don't know.
I forgot the guy's name.
Doesn't
the
matter.
guy who got his hand blown off.
Pierre-Paul.
Yeah,
Pierre-Paul. Yeah. And so they just demolish him. The other one is have him play his only bad half of football in the history of the playoffs, which was the Bengals game. He had one bad half in the history of his playoffs. I don't count that Buccaneers game as bad. If you watched it, you know. He had one bad half. That second half against Cincinnati, and then Burrow beat him in overtime because he had a pick go off Tyreek Hill's hands. The other way to beat him is you can't do it anymore because they changed the rules because now both teams get a chance in overtime.
Right.
So you can't do that one anymore. Funny, they didn't change the rules when the Chiefs lost that way, but they did when the Bills lost that way. But that's a conversation for another day. But those are the ways to beat him. You just got to hope he plays bad.
which doesn't
Lennon
ever
does not
happen.
like Josh Allen.
That's not entirely true.
He does not like
I'm
Josh
scared
Allen.
of Josh Allen. I will say this. I'm scared of Josh. He's the only player in the NFL that scares me as someone who pulls for the Chiefs. He's the only player that scares me.
He has
I do
no
think
fear
he's the
of the
second
Chiefs.
best. I used to say Burrow was the second best player. I think it's Allen. I think Allen is the second best player in the league.
I think it's definitely Allen.
Yeah.
I think it's
I used to
Mahomes,
think it was
Allen,
Burrow
and a
after he
tier
made the
break.
Super Bowl. Yeah. Well.
Landon, I'll let you have your
I would
Mahomes
argue
moments.
Mahomes a tier break.
You back
Mahomes
off
a
of
tier
Josh
break
Allen right
Allen.
now. You back off Josh Allen right now.
We'll see. I'm pulling for him this week. I think he gets it done this week.
Yeah,
I hope he
that's
does.
the really,
That's my guy.
really
That's
roundabout
my
way
dude.
of saying the Bills probably beat the Ravens in the divisional round.
I guess Josh Allen is so much my dude because I've been a fan of Josh Allen since he was in college. I liked him in Wyoming.
Ben and I were in line to watch Avengers in-game or Infinity War. I don't remember.
I remember this. I remember
and we
this
were
story.
watching, and the Browns took Baker Mayfield at 101, and we busted out laughing because we both thought it should be Josh Allen.
And I remember a friend of ours was in there with us, and he was pulling. He likes the Bills, and he saw they picked Josh Allen like later after the movie because we didn't have our phones or anything. And he was like, "Oh, we picked Josh Allen. Who is that?" And I was like, "No, dude, that's a brilliant pick." I have
That's who
stood
you
by
want.
Josh Allen for a long time, so I'm a true homer. That's my guy. I love that dude.
The thing is, I don't dislike Josh Allen. I feel like if Patrick Mahomes didn't exist, I would love Josh Allen. But you can't be a complete fan of one and like love the other. It's kind of hard to.
That is true.
That's fair. I'm a huge Josh Allen fan. I respect Mahomes. I am never going to argue unless Josh Allen can finally beat him in the playoffs. I'm never going to argue that he's better than Mahomes. But it's just frustrating when you like a guy this much and you have a Mahomes over there ruining things for everyone. Mahomes is ruining
a
things.
lot of things.
He's
in
ruining things.
our fantasy league, Mully all hate him. Other than me, for some reason, everyone hates him. And I just said last year I would get a different hobby in January and February if I'm you guys, because this is not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's pointless. He's gonna keep doing his thing.
I don't hate Mahomes. I just want Allen to beat him. That's all I want. Anyway, we have rambled
Mahomes
on for almost
has-
an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't have any more Mahomes takes. If he wins this week, you'll get some next week.
Let's talk about Mahomes next week when it's
Oh,
not even a
you
conversation.
didn't
He's
get-
going to beat C.J. Stroud. He's going to beat him.
You didn't get any of my top 10 hottest Mahomes takes. So
No, I guess you didn't
I
say
got
anything
way
hot.
more.
We just talked about him a lot.
yeah. Oh, I got.
That's all.
I
That's
got
all
some
we've
stuff
got
that
for
would-
today, folks. I'm
would
gonna
not
I'm
make
gonna
Ben
cut
happy.
this before Landon goes on a tirade after the camera shuts off. That's all we've got for you boys. We'll see you in the divisional round when inevitably Landon and I are yelling about Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and Josh is sitting there like an idiot. We will see you guys next week.